Hey, how's it hanging everybody? My name is Ollotize and today we're going to be going through the first 5 of my top traffic tips for Cities Skylines. So, let's get on with tip number 1. So, traffic tip number 1 is one you've probably heard before, but it's definitely one of the most useful. Avoiding crossroads and too many junctions on one road. If you build a crossroad, odds are you'll eventually have troubles with it. But if you like the look of crossroads, then I'm going to show you some other options that you can use. You've got the option to link the roads together using a pedestrian road. This is only available with the plazas and promenades DLC. You just want a pedestrian road 4 tiles long with the zoning turned off. This way you won't get any pedestrian building popping up where you don't want them. And a good thing about this option is that emergency services can still treat this like a normal crossroad. Another option is to link them up with paths and decorate the middle with trees. Or just build your road as close as you can to the main one. Now, as for too many junctions on one road, you can still use the pedestrian roads to help with this. But if you have too many junctions on a road, traffic will always go very slow on them. Now, a little tip inside of a tip here is to go around and adjust your traffic lights and stop signs. Odds are, if cars are coming off a small road onto a large road, it'll be fine with just a stop sign. Now let's get on with traffic tip number 2. And you will also need the plazas and promenades DLC for this. So, traffic tip number 2 is to build more pedestrian areas. As I'm sure you all know, pedestrian areas don't have vehicles in them, but that's not the only helpful thing about them. The citizens in this game will always take the fastest route. So if somebody lived here and say had 2 options, walk all the way to the point where they can get to their car to go to work, or come out of the house, cross the road to the metro station. This is a good way to push a lot of your citizens into using public transport, which brings us on to our next tip. Traffic tip 3 is to ensure that you have a good running transportation system. Whether it be trams, buses, trains, or even ferries, this is one of the most successful ways to get cars off the roads and cash into your pocket. To help have a well-running system, make sure you adjust the type of vehicle, its capacity, and how many vehicles are running on your lines. If you have too many vehicles, then you might end up adding to your traffic. Too little amount of vehicles, then people might not want to wait that long to get that form of transport and just decide to drive. If you're enjoying the video so far and have found it helpful, then why not subscribe and keep updated for when part 2 of this video comes out. So let's get on with traffic tip number 4. Traffic tip number 4 is to use more of the district policies. If you notice that a lot of traffic is coming directly from a singular district, then it could be worth making transport through there. Then instead of driving, most will choose public transport, but use this in too many districts, then you'll end up losing money. You could use the prefer ferries policy. This is particularly good if you are building on an islands map, or you just like using a lot of ferries. This will make your ferries more popular, but you're limited on where ferries can get to if most of your city is deep into land. But you could always build some canals. You can use a heavy traffic ban to help keep some districts a bit more clear of traffic. But remember that this does not affect highways and will push traffic onto alternative routes to get to their destination. So make sure those new routes are prepared for a higher amount of traffic, for example by having larger roads with more lanes. By encouraging biking, you can lower your traffic a decent amount. Just make sure you use roads with bike lanes and build a few more paths around to encourage them that little bit more. Old Town is a good policy as it only allows people who live, work or are making a delivery into the district. It won't allow traffic to use it as a cut through, and they will have to find an alternative route to their destination. And finally, the combustion engine ban policy might help you out a little. It won't make the biggest of impacts, but it might help make traffic avoid the area a little bit more, as this policy only affects traffic that wants to use it as a cut through. Residents, businesses and city services can still use combustion engines in this district. And now for the last tip, tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to have a good path system. When people are building their city, they are more focused on if it looks cool or looks realistic, and sometimes don't realise they have made parts of their city so that citizens have no choice but to drive, as the only way in and out of their residential area is by highway and they can't walk along them, or it's by a long and winding road, just so they can get to the other side of a patch of grass, something a 5 or 10 tile long path could fix. I can't stress enough how important paths are, and you should be putting them down wherever you can, linking areas and roads together, whether it be linking 2 roads that are right next to each other together, or 2 districts that are miles apart from each other, a tunnel going underneath a highway, or a bridge going over a river. You should be placing them. This will help remove so much traffic from your roads. If you did find this video helpful and want to see more, then subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on part 2 of my traffic tips video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!